Hey guys, so for our project today, we are going to cut a wine bottle in half. Yes, that is possible. Take a look, we've already done this one here. And as you can see, very nice fit. The bottle is perfectly cut, very straight cut. And the nice thing about it is when you're done, you have a drinking glass. So let's see how we did this, what elements we will need to do it, and how difficult it is. It's not that tough. Okay, so here are the basic elements. First thing you'll need is a glass cutter. It's pretty simple. It's got a little tip there. You can see that little roller. That is a diamond tip. And this is a glass cutter. I got it for $2-3 at Ace Hardware, so it's not very expensive. First thing you will need. Okay, so a couple things to think about here. Here's a bottle that we're going to cut. Take note that there is a label on the bottle. If you're going to make your cut in this area, you're not going to need to remove the label. Some people like to keep that label on, maybe cut above here. But in this case, we're going to remove the label because our cut is going to be right here in the middle. And if we were to cut with the blade in this area, the blade wouldn't cut the paper. So we are going to have to remove that, a little warm water and some patience, and you're going to be fine to remove that. Another thing that you have to consider and that you will need is sandpaper to sand down the edges of the glass once you've cut it. You can see here I'm putting my hand over the glass and not getting cut, and that's because I've basically taken the sandpaper and sanded down the edge. You can see on this one that I didn't sand as much and it's a little bit brighter. And if we were going to use this for human touch, you would probably want to sand that down a little bit more to make sure you're not cutting yourself. So those are a few things to think about before you get started. So another thing that you want to think about is how you're going to make your cut. If you think about it, simply taking the bottle and the blade and running it over the bottle is not going to be an effective way to cut it because you have no way to keep that cut straight. What I did was I made a jig, and that's this piece here, you can see, made out of scrap wood. And basically what we do here is use this jig to place our blade in a cutting position here, and I'll give you some more detail later about this jig. Place the bottle right here. We're going to actually remove this first, and then we spin the bottle, and you can see the bottle keeps in place nice and straight, and that way you're able to cut without that blade moving around. So very easy to make, just requires a little bit of thinking, a little bit of planning, and execution. So here's a little bit closer detail of the jig. You can see that what we cut out here is just a base where the bottle can rest and spin as you push the bottle against the edge. It doesn't really matter that there's space on either side. Simply pushing the bottle this way keeps the bottle fairly steady. This piece here is affixed with 2 screws as this piece here from underneath and this piece here. I just used a jigsaw to cut out this round space here, and finally the middle piece. This piece is important. This piece is a little piece of hardwood, and I just took my table saw and cut out a groove right in the middle so that will fit the width of the blade, which sits here, and then I drilled out this little hole here so that that fits in nicely and doesn't move around. And then when you put your bottle in, let's see, you press firmly. You can see in there probably how the blade right in there is touching the glass. And again, we're going to remove that label before we do any cutting work. Okay, so we've now removed the label. That was the Mondavi Cabernet. And you'll notice that when we put the bottle down in the jig, it spins very nicely. And so when we place our blade in place here, as so, the bottle is going to very easily move over the blade. and we're going to cut that in a moment with some pressure. Okay, so we're ready to cut, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place the blade, which is here. You can see it spinning there. Hopefully you can see that. We're going to put it in place, nice and firm, and we're just going to find a position where we can see underneath. You can see that there, but what we're looking for is to see that the blade is touching glass. And we're going to look for a position where everything is nice and firm and where we can spin. And what we're going to do is we're going to start applying pressure, and we can hear it. You can hear that? That's marking. So as we start going around, you'll notice that we can begin to see the mark right on the glass. Now we don't want to do this too much. We just want to make sure that mark is all the way around. Usually I do just 2 turns, no more than that. And again, we just want to make sure that we've cut nicely all the way around the glass. That should be enough. All right, so what we just want to ensure is that we have scored the glass all the way around. And if you look here, let's remove this so we don't keep cutting. As I rotate the bottle, you can see that the glass has been scored all the way around. What you might want to do, you don't want to do it too many times. In other words, you don't want the knife to go over the cut so many times. What you can do is just move it around just to make sure that the scoring has indeed happened all the way around. Otherwise, when you try to break this glass, it can break in a way that's not flush up to the line. But this looks pretty good. It's scored all the way around, so now we can move to the final step of separating the bottom from the top. And we froze it. We put it in the freezer because we want the bottle nice and cold. You see there, it's nice and scored. Now the bottle is freezing. The idea now is that when we pour hot water over it, the expansion from the contracted state will break the bottle in half without any effort. Okay, so we have our frozen bottle. It's right here. See that? Nice and frozen. Freezer, I haven't got my gloves on, just in case we have any shards. And we're gonna take now boiling water and right over the crease there, right over the scoring. Tap it slightly. You can also apply some cold water now. Again, some boiling water. And there we have it. Our glass is broken. We're going to take care of that little ridge there that didn't break quite clearly, but you can see how easy that broke, and most of it we can already see the very nice clean break. And I'll show you how we fix that in a second. Okay, so we didn't get a very clean break with the hot water, but you can see that the glass is scored, and most of these glass cutters come with these little indentations, and these are meant so that you can insert the glass and break off the edge. And if we're lucky, it should break right along the scoring that we did. And you see that's indeed what's happening, and that comes off nice and easy. And then we're going to fix the rest of that, there we go, with the sanding, and we'll get to that in a moment. Okay, so we saw that in our break we got these little jagged edges here. Now we're going to take our sandpaper, big piece or small piece. This is about 120 grit, and we're going to go right over that edge and smoothen out the area that didn't quite break well. This is something you need to do anyway, all the way around the edge. You can see we're smoothing that out. We don't want any jagged edges on the glass that could cut our hands or our lips if we're going to use it as a drinking glass. And where it didn't break quite right, we're going to do a little extra sanding because that's where it needs it most. You want to make sure you wear gloves here because this part, if you don't wear gloves, you can really do some harm to your skin. You can see this is sanding very well. Okay, so here we are with the final product. It's been sanded, it's been washed. You can see that where we had the break, the uneven break, it's a little bit uneven, but with the sanding, it's very, very smooth. You're not going to cut yourself on here. This is trial and error, so occasionally you'll have one glass that you may not like how the cut comes out. Other times you get a really nice straight cut like this here, and that'll be just fine. You can see here's another glass that we did, also a very nice straight cut. There's always a tiny imperfection somewhere. This is an artisanal process. It's not a perfect cut, but it is a very nice cut. You can use these as glasses, you can use them as vases, you can make candles, lots of things to do with these glasses, and this is basically a finished product here. Okay, well, we've come to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. We saw how we cut the glass in half. Not too difficult to do. Not too expensive. All you needed was a little glass cutter that we got for a couple bucks, some sandpaper and a jig in this case. Very easily done. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did so, please give it a thumbs up and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.